We are very excited to bring to the stage somewhat of a newcomer in this world, a fresh voice among a bunch of us who are not fresh anymore at what we do.
We have that not-so-fresh
we have
feeling as storytellers.
The not-so-fresh storytelling feeling. So Shawn Reaves, I'm sorry, I'm showing my age here. I'm like, I cannot read. Okay, there it is. Shawn Reaves has been telling stories through community theater for nearly 20 years with the Anderson County Community Theater, Bluegrass Theater Guild, Woodford Theater, and Georgetown Community Theater. Favorite roles include Kris Kringle on Miracle on 34th Street, The Tin Man and the Wizard of Oz, and Juror 3, The Mean One, and 12 Angry Men. This evening will be his first foray into sharing a story of himself. When not on stage, Shawn lives in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky with his loved one, his wife Felicia, and works in Lexington as a school counselor. Shout out to the school people. Finally, for reasons that will become clear in a few moments, Shawn would like to dedicate his story this evening to his mom, Patricia Cravens Reaves Adams, aka Nana Pat, who demonstrates daily how to embrace life, especially in the face of adversity, and she's here with us tonight. So please welcome to the stage, Shawn Reaves.
So, it's a surreal feeling being told that you're so radioactive that you've become a public health risk and you have to be sequestered in a lead-lined hospital room. I was told that if I put a spoon in my mouth, it would become so radioactive that I had to throw it away because it would be too contaminated for others to use. I couldn't hug my 6-year-old son, Dylan, because it would expose him to unsafe levels of radiation emitting from my body. But that was my life in the summer of 1997 when I was being treated for thyroid cancer. I was 34 when this adventure began. My loved one, my wife Felicia, said, "What's that lump on your neck?" Okay, full disclosure, she was kissing it at the time. But she stopped abruptly and said, "Tilt your head back, swallow. Does that hurt?" And I said, "No, it doesn't hurt," confident that that would ease her mind. It didn't. She happens to be a nurse. So she kept squeezing and poking my neck, saying, "What does that feel like?" I said, "Well, it feels like I'm trying to swallow while someone is choking me." "What's the big deal?" She said, "Well, smartass." Okay, she didn't say smartass, but I could hear it in her voice. "This could be something serious, like, cancer." By this point, I could tell that she was really nervous, so I became a lot more sincere. "Look, loved one, I don't know what this is, but there's no way I've got cancer." 13 days later, I had my first surgery. The initial fine needle biopsy said atypical cells, but not cancer. The frozen tissue biopsy they did during the first surgery, same result, non-cancerous. But just to be sure, they were going to send some tissue samples off to the thyroid specialist in the area. A week later, we went and met with Dr. Osetinsky, the surgeon, and asked him about the pathology reports. He said the results were inconclusive, so they sent tissue samples to Stanford University, the Mayo Clinic, and the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology in Washington, D.C. I said, "You mean the Mayo Clinic as in the Mayo Clinic? The Armed Forces Institute of Pathology?" I suddenly felt like I was in the middle of an X-Files episode. I kind of half chuckled and said, "Is this standard operating procedure?" He kind of half chuckled back and said, "No, this is a bit unusual." And then he got more somber. He said, "The results indicate a partially encapsulated follicular or papillary carcinoma." So, wait, carcinoma, that means cancer. So for the first time, it was official. But hearing those words, I was actually relieved. I wasn't happy, but I was relieved. The wait was over, and I finally knew what I was up against. As we left the doctor's office, I turned to Felicia. "Are you okay?" She turned back. "Do I have a choice?" I chose to try to educate myself. I read Felicia's medical textbooks, and I did some research on this new information sharing system called the World Wide Web. Remember, it was the 90s. I became particularly enamored by books that had titles like The Cancer Conqueror, because they told these stories of people who had beaten cancer and lived past some 5 or 10-year survival rate. At first, those stories really inspired me. And then they pissed me off, because I thought, do I have to wait 5 years before I can call myself a cancer survivor? And what if cancer kills me? Does that mean I'm a failure? How soon till I can say I beat cancer, and what criteria should I use? And then I remembered something that I've come to understand as the most important interaction of my life. I was a sixth grader, a student at Our Lady of the Rosary, a Catholic school in the small town of Green Hills outside Cincinnati, Ohio. And our teacher, Mrs. Purvis, gave us an assignment: interview somebody and write an article about the person we interviewed. And she said, find somebody interesting. So being a procrastinator, I waited until the night before the assignment was due, and I went to my mom. Mom, I've got this assignment I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to interview somebody, and we're supposed to find somebody interesting. I can't think of anybody interesting, so can I just interview you? Yeah, I know. Now, I'm the baby of 7 kids. I'm the baby of 7 kids. Remember the whole Catholic thing. So by the time I was 12, she had pretty much seen and heard it all. So without missing a beat, she said, sure, what would you like to know? So I asked her my series of scripted questions, and much to my surprise, she actually started to sound interesting. She grew up on a farm in Lexington, Kentucky. She did theater and dance. She played the harp and was a founding member of the Central Kentucky Youth Symphony Orchestra. She even sang with jazz greats on the banks of the Mississippi River at a New Orleans jazz festival. And then she kind of casually said, I probably could have been famous, a big star. Wow, now we're getting somewhere. But then it hit me. She wasn't famous. She wasn't a big star. So I asked her this question: Mom, does it bother you that you weren't a success? So remember, she'd seen it all. So with a poise and a confidence that I couldn't comprehend, she said, I am a success. I wanted to get married and have a big family. I did what I set out to do. Clearly, she didn't understand the question. No, Mom, a success. You said you could have been famous, a big star. Does it bother you that you weren't a success? My education continued. I didn't want to be famous. I didn't want to be a big star. I wanted to have a big family, and I did what I set out to do. At 12 years old, I had no idea what she was talking about. A little over 2 decades later, that lesson saved me. Facing thyroid cancer, my mom's wisdom came back to guide me. I am a success, she had said, because we get to define success on our own terms. It really was that simple. Would I have to wait 5 years to call myself a cancer survivor? Not a chance. So to the astonishment of friends and loved ones, I started telling people that I had beaten cancer even before I had the second surgery. I would say, I'm not all clear. I still have cancer. I've just decided that I've beaten it because I'm not going to let it control how I live my life. In short, I declared victory. So yes, I still had to have a second surgery. I still had to face multiple hospitalizations, and I still had to drink enough radioactive iodine to make me a public health risk and get sequestered in a lead-lined room. But rather than something to dread, each of those experiences became something to embrace as part of my life's adventure. For me, success was not going to be based on what happened in my body, but what happened in my being. So success was writing a book called Cancer at 34, Life's Next Big Adventure. Success was going back to work less than 12 hours after being released from the hospital following my second surgery. Success was finally getting to keep a commitment to take my 6-year-old son, Dylan, to Discovery Zone, even when I was hypothyroid and could barely function. I declared victory 2 years before I got the all clear. I am a success. Thanks, Mom, and thank you for listening. And just in case it hasn't dawned on you, you can define your own success as well. Love and hugs, I'm Shawn. Yes, my mom is here. My loved one who found the lump is here, and my 6-year-old son is now 26, and he's here too. Love you.
This is my mic because it's in the light.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Reaves and his mother.
And his wife, right? Like,
What a story.
I know. I love that idea. Like, I'm just going to declare right now I'm the winner. I'm the success. You know, I love that. It's like I need more of that in my life. I'm like, I'm going to use that for sure, for sure.
I am taller. I am.